What is up, guys? Welcome back to the SUPES channel. My name is Matthew Ramos, and on this channel I aim to entertain, inform, and inspire using the topic of discussion as always, which is superheroes. So guys, yesterday I got the chance to watch an early screening for the movie Brightburn. Now for those of you who don't know what Brightburn is basically a horror film based on the concept of what if Superman didn't come in peace? What if Superman was evil? Now, after watching the trailers and all of the marketing campaigns, I was extremely excited for this movie. Now, in today's video, I'm going to review the movie and give my thoughts about how I felt once I finally saw the movie. Now, for those of you that haven't watched Brightburn, add this video to your watch later playlist and come back to it after you've seen the movie, as in this video, I'm going to get into a bit of some spoiler discussion about the film. So when talking about Brightburn, a superhero horror movie, once we hear that word superhero, all of us, off of instinct, expect to see this big, massive scale superhero movie. Because we're accustomed to seeing these Marvel movies blow us out of the park, and we're also accustomed to seeing high budget DC movies. But this film is a very low budget, low key superhero movie, which is something you gotta understand when you're going into this film. You can't go into this movie expecting that it's gonna be like a Marvel solo movie. It's not on that scale. It's nowhere near that scale. Same way there's, high budget horror movies, and then there's also low budget horror movies. That still doesn't mean that that low budget horror movie can be good. And this movie is a low budget superhero film, but it's good. So let's get right into my positives about this movie. So starting off with the positives about this movie. So my biggest positive about Brightburn is that this film had amazing pacing from beginning to end. It wasn't a drag at all. You were constantly looking at the screen and it kept you captivated with what was happening within the movie. So from beginning to end, it never dragged. And despite it being, a pretty short movie, it still kept you, looking at the screen from beginning to end. And that's something that is one of the most important aspects of crafting a good film, the pacing. Because once the movie becomes a drag and your audience, checks out, then it's really hard to have your audience check back in. So this film kept you looking onto that screen, and it kept you as a captivated audience member from beginning to end. My next positive about Brightburn is that good experiences played out across this movie. When you're thinking of what if Superman was bad, and you're thinking of an evil Superman, what would you want to see him do? Those things happened in this movie. In this movie, we saw him interact with bullies. We saw him interact with, people who are trying to get him in trouble. We saw him interact with, his parents, who played such an integral part of this movie and trying to get him to turn good, but that never eventually happened. And I loved seeing the interaction between him, the kid, and his parents, because his parents, come to a point where they're like, what do we do? Like, we have to put an end to this kid. And I just love that, internal conflict with the parents. And I love the way the kid, went through multiple experiences, and we really got to saw, the variation of his powers. We saw him got to use, super speed, super strength, the laser beams. The only Superman power that we didn't really see him use at all is the freeze breath, but that wasn't, a big of a deal. But I loved how from beginning to end, we saw this kid, once he got his powers, because this is something that I didn't really expect. He didn't have his powers, at the beginning of the movie. He got his powers from something that we didn't really get explained at all, but he got his powers in the middle of the movie. And then when we see him start learning how to use his powers, with the lawn, in the scene with the lawn where he throws the lawnmower and then he puts his hand in the blade and the blade breaks. Like, that's something, that's something that you would want to see. And, I love how in this film they really develop his character and the way he uses his powers. So by the end of the film, he's, super experienced with all of his powers, and he's the evil Superman that you would envision. I also, in this film, really enjoyed the ending. In the ending, they kept on hinting at, what is going to kill this kid? What is his weakness? And there was this one part of the movie where we saw that he cuts his hand on the blade of his pod that he arrived on Earth in. And once the mom goes back and gets a piece of that pod, we know that, something's coming. This is her attempt of killing this kid. And as an audience member, you're like, are they really gonna kill this kid like this? And I thought they were, but turns out they didn't. The kid survived. The kid caught his mom's hand and killed the mom, which is something I didn't expect would happen at all. So I'm super happy that they didn't kill the kid, because that would have been super anticlimactic. But I loved how in the end, he destroys that plane that just crashes into him, and then we see him super innocently in the back of an ambulance eating a cookie. So I really enjoyed that. And now after watching this movie, and after that amazing ending, I want to see a sequel. Because how are they going to stop this kid? How are they going to stop this kid? The only thing that is really his weakness, because there is no such thing as kryptonite, is the metal from his space pod. But no one knows anything about that, so I don't know if there is even going to be a sequel at all. But I just really enjoyed how the kid did not die, because for a kid with Superman's powers to die by someone stabbing him, that's pretty horrible. So I really enjoyed that they didn't kill the kid and didn't give us the ending that we were all expecting to happen. So now getting into my negatives about this movie. So guys, across this movie, the mom, the dad, and the kid are the three best characters. But everyone else is absolutely horrible. They are the worst actors I've ever seen in my life. The acting is so bad when it comes to, the aunt and the uncle, the cops, which don't really play a big role in this movie, but when they're taking up screen time and they're just struggling to act these roles, it's just bad. It's just bad. And it had me laughing and my friends laughing of how bad it actually was. Like the kid just killed, the deputy, and the deputy's partner is just like, holy fuck, let's go. Like it just didn't make sense. It was just horrible acting. So that was one of the negatives about the movie, even though it made me laugh. So at the end of the day, it wasn't really a negative, because it was so bad that it was funny. And laughter is always good to have in a movie. This is probably my biggest negative about this movie, and that's that they didn't explore major plot points. So at the beginning of the movie, the kid doesn't have his powers. He gets his powers from suddenly seizing in his bed in the middle of one random night. He starts seizing in his bed, and then he goes to his glowing space pod in his farm, and that suddenly gives him his powers. But it never gets explained to us why that space pod was glowing, why he gets his powers, and what's the point of all that? Now the space pod is its own living being? It doesn't explain any of that. It also doesn't explain the symbols. Why is it that symbol? What is the significance of that symbol? And it didn't explore major plot points that would have explained the film a lot more and made it all make more sense. And then finally, my last negative about this movie is that there was no character motivation. This kid, once he gets his powers, he just says, I want to take over the world. Just to take over the world. And that's such a bland villain motivation. I mean, look at Thanos. Look at Killmonger. Look at Joker. These are the best villains, and all of them have really good character motivations because they think they're doing something good. Thanos thinks he's saving the universe by snapping half of it away. Killmonger thinks he's, saving a culture by providing them with the ammunition and the weapons to fight back against society. So these are all characters and the best villains we've ever seen in any comic book movies, with amazing character motivations. And here, our main character, who happens to be the antagonist of the movie, he didn't have any character motivation. He was just the bland, stereotypical villain that says, I just want to take over the world just to take over the world. And this kid's probably going to do it, but what then? What next? What is he going to do with that? So there wasn't really any motivation behind the main character of this movie. So despite having some major criticisms about this movie, probably the most important parts, the acting, it didn't explain the major plot points, and there was no character motivation. Despite those three huge criticisms about this movie was still very enjoyable to watch. I felt that it wasn't those horror movies that just dragged on the beginning and then you know, you get to the climax of the movie and then it starts getting crazy. No, this movie was fun, enjoyable to watch from beginning to end. And even though those were some major criticisms, I still enjoyed it. And that's the most important thing after walking out of a movie. Did you enjoy it or not? Despite all the criticisms, all the negatives the movie might have, did you enjoy it? And I absolutely did. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to rate this movie a 6.5 because it had good pacing and it tackled, you know, a concept that I was so interested to watch, and it did it pretty well despite not explaining, you know, the major plot points, why this kid got his powers, and despite having no character motivation, I still enjoyed this movie. And to be honest, I feel like they could tackle more of these topics and more of these parody kind of movies off of different superhero topics within the superhero genre. Here they tackled what if Superman was evil. So I want to see another what if movie. So that's something I'm really interested in. I feel like this film kind of delivered on. It delivered on what would an evil Superman be like. And we definitely got that in this movie. So guys, let me know in the comments if you've seen Brightburn. Let me know in the comments what you think of this movie. And if you haven't, let me know if this review got you more hyped or less hyped for this movie. So let me know in the comment section down below. Now guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. And see you guys next time.